Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with some Dark Shadows videos for you guys. My first one is a character retrospective of one Ben Stokes, played by actor Thayer David. Now, this is not the first time we see Thayer David in Dark Shadows. We actually see him as Matthew Morgan when he replaces another actor, but Matthew Morgan is killed off. So we don't see Thayer David for a long while until Victoria Winters, played by Alexander Moltke Isles, goes back into the past. And, well, that's when we finally meet one Ben Stokes. You know, there's a lot of things to get into here. Is Ben Stokes a copy of Burke Devlin? Now, keep in mind, Burke Devlin was wrongfully sent to prison for manslaughter. And, I got to give credit where credit is due. This was brought to my attention by two Dark Shadows fans who have a really, really awesome YouTube channel. Christine Pierce, Cara Tillies from Between the Shadows, a Dark Shadows podcast. They had mentioned this on their podcast, and I'll leave a link in the description box to their channel. Really, really, really awesome. I'm hoping to get them back on this coming weekend. Hopefully. Hopefully. Cross your fingers. So, I'm hoping. Now, with Ben Stokes, was he wrongfully sent to prison? Is this a Burke Devlin situation? They had brought this up on their podcast of they felt Ben Stokes wasn't really a criminal, that he was wrongfully sent to prison. Now, there are differences between Ben and Burke. Burke did not hit somebody with a car. That was Roger. We know there was a vehicle involved. With Ben, that's not going to be the case because of 1795. And the period he's living in, I'm more think Ben's wrongful conviction or potential wrongful conviction, because again, this is something that's very interesting. I don't think it's taken from Burke Devlin. Actually, if they ever actually confirm this, which would be cool, if they actually confirm, yeah, Ben was not a criminal, which I think it could be. I don't know. Certainly, when you look at Ben, I mean, is he a violent man? Sure, but the people he's violent to are pretty much violent to are violent to him back. Other than the only person he really hurts um, is Barnabas. He knocks Barnabas unconscious. I think that's sort of where people might point to. Well, wait, he does hurt Barnabas to escape jail, to escape the dungeon of the Great House, which true, he does. Or the dungeon that he gets put in, or the jail cell dungeon that he gets put in. He doesn't get put in the city jail. He gets put somewhere else. I like how Lewis Edmonds finds Barnabas laying there like, really? You turned your back on Ben, a known criminal? I will say, I think if they ever did confirm that Ben wasn't a criminal, that I more believe this is more taken from Cliff Marsland, more so than Burke Devlin. Now, people might say, who the hell's Cliff Marsland? Glad you asked. Cliff Marsland is actually an agent of the Shadow, which came way, way before Dark Shadows' time, in the 30s. And Cliff Marsland was a man who was wrongfully convicted of committing a cold-blooded murder. Now, what did Ben Stokes go to jail for? Committing a cold-blooded murder, or so we're led to believe. So I think that's more where the similarity comes from, or the story, the nature of the story is what I'll say. Now, to be clear, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying Ben Stokes is Cliff Marsland at all. I more think they're sort of taking some of Cliff's story and using it to construct Ben as a character a bit. There are differences. Obviously, the big difference is Ben doesn't work for the Shadow that we know of. Where's the Girasol? Oh my God, Girasol. Where's where's 1795? No, the Shadow wasn't around at that time period actually. But that's funny. But the thing of it is, they could be taking from Cliff Marsland's story. Now, to be fair, to sort of compare the differences, Cliff Marsland, they kept his reputation as a gang member and a killer intact so the Shadow could use him to spy on other gangsters and gang members in the underworld. With Ben Stokes, I don't think that's not really the case at all. I mean, it's not like they're using Ben's criminal history to spy on anybody. Ben does become a servant, a henchman though of Angelique. He gets put under a spell, obviously, and she has him do her bidding, and he can't even say her name. This is why Barnabas says to him, "Write. I taught you to write. Write the name." And he puts A for Angelique. One of the most awesome scenes in Dark Shadows history, right? There are a lot of them. And so, but before all that happens, before Ben reveals that, there's some really interesting moments with Ben Stokes and Angelique. After she puts him under, she's wanting to turn Joshua into a cat, and Ben's like, a cat? Why not turn him into a jackass? I would take that jackass out in the woods. And Laura Parker's reaction as Angelique is priced, and she's like, Ben, no, we're not doing it. Here's the thing. You sort of want her to do it because Joshua deserves that shit. He really does. He is such a jerk to Ben. He's a jerk to everybody, though. I mean, it's like an equal opportunity thing. Does he hate everybody? Yeah, yes, yes. Yeah, easy answer is yes. He hates everybody. Well, sort of. He just doesn't. He doesn't. He pretends not to like everybody. So Ben really goes through a lot of hardships. Here's this guy who gets put under a spell, Angelique's spell to serve her, and he doesn't really want to do it. He doesn't mind Joshua getting turned into a cat, but he draws the line at cold-blooded murder, which sort of gives credence to Christine and Kara's point that, hey, if this guy was really all about committing cold-blooded murder, why does he draw the line of it when it comes to Angelique? If he didn't care, if he honestly didn't care about hurting innocent people, why does he care so much when Angelique's trying to hurt the majority of the Collins family, especially Barnabas? If he really never gave a shit about human life, why does he seem to care about it? And I think that's one of the best points that they make. That really, if you want to look at proof that Ben might have got set up for the murder that he went to jail for, that's it in 1795. Here's a guy who is this criminal, and you could say, well, he's working for his freedom. True, but here's the thing of that. When you commit cold-blooded murder, you commit cold-blooded murder. There's no going back from that. And I think if he honestly committed the cold-blooded murder in the first place, which leads me to suspect that Christine and Kara are right about this, that, hey, why would you even bother to give two shits about a family who's basically making you work for your freedom? Why not be more willing to help the witch is what I'm trying to say, if you really never cared. He obviously does care and perhaps always did care. So it leads me to believe that Christine Pearson Caratilis' point is more so in Angelique and in Ben Stokes, where he's sort of like, no, that's wrong. Like, no, I'm not doing it. And then she makes him do it anyway. He does draw the line to, hurting certain people, wanting to, kill them. When Barnabas dies, like he is so, upset with her. And here's the thing. He doesn't try to stop. he doesn't, he when Angelique gets choked, when Barnabas kills Angelique, Ben tells him. Ben, by this point, Barnabas knew that Ben was under the witch's spell, because obviously he had talked to him prior to being turned. But even after that, him and Ben's conversation is very interesting. You have Ben who's, I can't believe she's just dead. Like, her powers are just crazy. And really, Ben, I think even Ben, though he wants to believe Angelique is gone, I do think he's skeptical a bit. and he sort of has some hope because okay, even though the curse is in effect and Barnabas is a vampire, I don't really see her around or sense her around. But when he goes to court and she appears, by God, is he livid? Like, oh my God, she is alive. She is powerful. It just confirms Ben's fears and suspicions, really, that he most likely had even after Angelique had died. And I do think Ben had those suspicions. I think Ben sort of figured this is too simple that she's just gone. It just really is. Here's a woman who survived a gunshot wound. Yeah, sure, she's getting choked by the neck. Just, it's too simple, right? It's too neat. And it is. And well, Angelique comes back. Ben Stokes, he's really tore up. He does not want to help Angelique destroy the Collins family. He doesn't want her to hurt them or, you know, just murder them. And when this curse happens, that's what it feels like. It feels like the curse in every way. Barnabas's curse is a walking death sentence to all the Collins family members, and Ben sees this firsthand, and it really affects him. He's heartbroken as much as Barnabas at the death of Sarah, the death of Naomi. As strained as Joshua and Ben's relationship was, Ben even feels sorry for old Joshua Collins. He even says it. And that's something you would have never thought would have happened, right? But it does. Ben Stokes as a human being, is he a cold-blooded murderer? No, I'm going to agree with Christine and Kara on this one. He's not. I think there David portrays too much emotion for this guy just to be a cold-blooded killer. Again, where my opinion lies on this is this: I don't think this is pattern out of Burt Devlin. Now, a lot of people are going to point to that. I'm going to more point to Cliff Marsland on this one, more so than Burt Devlin. Again, I explained who Cliff Marsland was a bit. I think, though, too, you sort of have to use Cliff's story, too, with this. Because, again, cold blooded murder. That's what Cliff was sent to prison for. You know, people believed he committed cold-blooded murder. He killed somebody. The Shadow knew better. With Ben, there was no Shadow to clear, make sure, hey, that's not the case here. You know, so he went to prison, and upon his release, he gets, well, he has to work for the Collins family to get his release. And because of his service and friendship to Barnabas and how much of a friend he's been to Barnabas, and Joshua, at Barnabas's request, grants him that release. It's a really, I really love the character Ben Six. He's really, really, he's got a lot of, there's humor, there's emotion, and there's range. And Thayer David expresses it all in this character. I think one of my favorite parts with Ben Stokes is when he says goodbye to Barnabas for the final time. It's so sad and disheartening. He truly believes, man, I think when he looks at that coffin, he just looks, man, he's gonna be there forever. And I think that's Ben Stokes's thought process. It's, here's my best friend. He's gone now. Not dead, but he's still gone. He's never gonna be released. And he feels that sadness. And he feels the sadness for the Collins family, really. They did not deserve this curse, nor did they deserve this at all. No matter how mean Joshua could be. Joshua could be a dick, sure. I've said that with my Joshua Collins character retrospective. But at the same time, they didn't even remotely come close to deserving something like this. This curse, really, you see it through Ben too. You do see it through the Collins family, but you do see it through Ben. He can see, hey, this thing, it ain't good. And it's just a painful, painful thing. When he turns to that coffin and says, goodbye, goodbye, Barnabas, it's amazing and it's heartbreaking at the same time. Even though we know Barnabas is free in 1967, you sort of, by the end of 1795, you do feel for Barnabas Collins. And it's not just because of Jonathan Frid. Sure, that's there. no doubt. But it's also because of characters like Victoria Winters, characters like Sarah Collins, characters like Naomi, Joshua, and especially one Ben Stokes. And he does not get enough credit for that one. So that's my Ben Stokes character retrospective. I hope I've been insightful. I got one more Dark Shadows video for you guys.